Morning, Bones.
Good morning, Padre. Holy crap, it's everywhere.
Oh my hell. Are you man, this shit going on with ICE and these politicians that are trying to save their ass by trying to abolish it, trying to interfere with it. Uh I want to know why more of them aren't in jail, man. It's been going on. We've talked about it. The ICE and the people opposing it. But it has gotten completely out of hand. It's got to the point where uh, politicians and protesters need to start being jailed. We got to stop messing with this. Uh, I guess the latest on this obviously is our ICE shooting in Minnesota. Um, for those of you who aren't familiar, protesters interfering with ICE officers in an active operation to serve a warrant on an illegal immigrant criminal being followed down the street by vehicles and a mass of people. Uh, the lead of this protest moves her car sideways in the road to block ICE vehicles. Her wife gets out of the car, starts filming on her cell phone. ICE officers approach, order her out of the vehicle, order her to shut off the vehicle. She's laughing at them and mocking them. The wife that's out of the car is talking all kinds of smack to them. And she ultimately winds up putting the car in reverse, starting backwards, putting it in gear to move forward, punching the gas at an ICE officer, and hits him as he's jumping out of the way. He draws his weapon, fires through the windshield, and as she continues past through the driver's window, she's hit 3 times in the head and dies. Um,
So we've talked about that before. An officer of the law that is was assaulted, and she had chosen to weaponize her vehicle, from what I saw.
well, and that's
Um,
what it is.
um, so the officers, what is the rule with the officers, with the police officers?
If
If
someone
you,
is using deadly force or force likely to cause serious bodily injury, deadly force is authorized. It's that simple, folks. Um,
I
the,
would protect myself.
the
You
the
know,
argument here from the Democrats, of course, these douchebags, um, they're showing videos from weird angles and trying to say look at the way the tires were turned. She was trying to get around him. Well, you know what? I don't give a shit what she was trying to do. The fact of the matter is, she disobeyed lawful orders from law enforcement while leading what they call a protest, which we know by federal guidelines went well beyond protest. Yeah, this is a riot. A federal protest, you can be peaceful on the sidewalks. You cannot impede with foot traffic. You cannot impede roadways. You have to comply with lawful orders. You definitely cannot impede any federal agency's function. These protesters are trained protesters out there actively and physically trying to stop ICE officers, federal law enforcement, from doing their job.
yes, that's what's happening.
And when you choose to pull these actions and disobey law enforcement and violate the law yourself in doing so, you know what? Fuck around, find out.
And
And
that's
that's
what's going to
that's
happen.
what's gonna start
Um,
happening.
I keep imagining what it would be like if we had folks on the left or whatever that actually abided by the law and respected the police officers and what they were about to do, the ICE officers, ICE agents, or whatever, or what they were about to do, and actually helped them. This would be over with in Minnesota.
Exactly. And let's look at what's going on in Minnesota. Uh, Tim Walz is stepping down. He's not going to go for re-election and may leave office early. Um, a big federal fraud case for Somalian daycares. And these ICE agents are there deporting illegal Somalians that were brought in through the open borders policy of Biden and with the help of Ilhan Omar, who is Somalian herself, and she's in the country illegally. She's being investigated for fraud, having married her brother to gain citizenship. She's admitted that she loves Somalia over the United States of America. She made the statement, I did not come into this country to abide by your rules. Now, why is she still in office? Why is she still in country? I'm flabbergasted at what's being allowed to take place. The protests over this are ridiculous. They set up camps in the roadway, blocking the roadway where this Renee Good was shot. They're trying to make a George Floyd martyr out of her. It's ridiculous. She was the leader of this movement, of this riot.
Yeah, and if they weren't there, they probably wouldn't have gotten it shot.
Well, that's it. And they're painting her out. Oh, this innocent mother of three who dropped her 6-year-old off to daycare and he expected her to be there to pick him up. Well, guess what? That's what you should have been doing, lady. Let's talk about Mother of the Year. It's already floating everywhere, the pictures of her record and her arrest record. 2 counts of child endangerment. Her wife lost her children for burning them with cigarettes. These are not Mothers of the Year.
No.
She's been arrested for assault on police officers, for interfering. This lady's got a record. This is what she did. She is a professional protester, like so many of them out there, being funded and paid to go out and interfere with ICE. And this shit's got to stop. When law enforcement is under threat when they're trying to perform their duties, then arrests need to start being made. And it shouldn't just be a slap on the wrist. You interfere with a federal officer trying to do his job, it should be mandatory 5-10 years, in my opinion. I don't think you can mess around with this anymore. And yet, let's look at why this is happening. We talk about the anti-ICE movement. And what you have is you've got Democrats that have spent years vilifying ICE as fascists. They call them the Gestapo, slave patrols. They're saying they're out there with a 1,000% surge in assaults. And they're saying that ICE is acting recklessly and that they're terrorizing their citizens. You wonder why citizens are out there doing this, folks? Well, listen to some of the crazy shit being said by some douchebag politicians. And I'm going to call it what it is. I'm sick and tired of these guys and what they're doing to this country. You got Tim Walz smearing ICE as modern day Gestapo. Wow. Timmy, really? Really?
Yeah.
Mr. Fraud himself?
Yep.
You know that the Somalians being deported and the investigations going on under your nose, you're going to land up in jail. You're trying to protect your own ass at the cost of the lives of your citizens. Gavin Newsom likened ICE to secret police, calling them authoritarian and proclaiming the right to push back. You got a governor in California authorizing his people to push back. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Governor J.B. Pritzker claims the country is becoming Nazi Germany because ICE is grabbing people off the street and disappearing them. Wow, Pritzker, what a great use of the American language. Disappearing them. Woohoo. You're just a, man. Representative Robert Kelly smearing ICE as Gestapo and a betrayal. And another one of my favorites here, Jasmine Crockett. What a piece of shit she is. Comparing ICE to slave patrols. Representative Sylvia Garcia referring to ICE agents as thugs. Representative Delia Ramirez attacked ICE as a terror force. Representative Pramelia Jayapal called ICE agents deranged and accused them of kidnapping and said resistance to ICE is inspiring. These are our politicians, folks.
Yeah, they're encouraging what's happening, the disruption with what the ICE agents are there to do. They're supporting
Representative
it.
Rashid Tlaib said ICE is terrorizing our communities and turning our country into a fascist police state and called it a rogue agency. Representative Anaya Presley said ICE is terrorizing our communities. Representative Max Frost compared the operations to some of the worst horrors and crimes against humanity in history.
But yeah, ICE agents, law enforcement, I don't care who it is. What is their job? Their job is to recognize disruption and enforce the law.
Are the people voted in a president that vowed to close the borders and clean up immigration. And now it's happening, and you've got these representatives bucking back. You can go through, I can go through several more. I'll hit some of the big names. Ilhan Omar. ICE agents are vile and beyond cruel, and the agency should be abolished. Bernie Sanders asked people to figure out a way to stop ICE from what they're doing as soon as possible. Elizabeth Warren. ICE is intentionally stoking fear and tearing communities apart. Hakeem Jeffries, man, this jewel of a piece of garbage, implored people to fight the Trump administration in the streets and declared ICE agents will be unsuccessful in protecting their identities no matter what it takes. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson accused ICE of being secret police who are terrorizing our communities. Another one of my favorites, AOC. Oh my God. ICE should not exist. I mean, I could go on and on with this list of names of politicians that are supporting and encouraging citizens. And you know what? If you go through this list, every one of them has ties into these NGOs that are getting paid by all the illegal drug trade, the money laundering, the fraud schemes that are taking place. Every one of these people that are talking smack and against ICE are getting rich off of their political careers. I originally, Bones, when I looked into this segment and thought, man, we're going to talk about this, we had done the Seditious Six. I was thinking, oh man, we're going to hit treasonous 12. You can't limit this to 12.
Nope, there's too many. Way too many.
And these are just the tip of the iceberg.
And
No pun intended.
Right. We did a tip of the iceberg segment, but anyway, yeah, though there's too many politicians and too much money being funneled into the disrespect and everything that's going on out there in the streets. Paid funding for or the riots. They are riots. They're not peaceful demonstrations like they're trying to put out to be. You know, there may
Exactly.
be there may be a few peaceful ones, but uh, anyway, if they are peaceful, it's probably in a small town someplace.
Well, what we're seeing is not peaceful protests. We're seeing ICE officers being rammed by vehicles. We're seeing ICE officers being shot. We're seeing Department of Homeland Security officers under the same. We're seeing politicians, many of which we've just named, ordering their police departments not to assist in problems with ICE, to not even get involved in the
Well,
crowd control.
yeah, well, that leads to the police officers quitting their jobs and applying to be an ICE agent. That's what that scenario leads to.
Well, and that's what's taking place in Minnesota. The latest that I saw, 26 police officers had resigned, and 18 of them are already working with ICE, which tells me these politicians are not representing their people. They're representing their own interests, as I stated earlier. The people deserve better than this. These inflammatory statements being made by these politicians are putting their citizens at risk. Uh, ICE is not responsible for the death of Renee Good. It is the
Oh,
politicians that incited and told her it was okay to do this that
right.
are
And here's your money.
responsible for these
Here's your
deaths.
money. And
Um,
here's the money.
exactly. I'm
Um, Go ahead.
I'm happy to see in some jurisdictions the law enforcement leadership stepping up and stating, we will do our job and we will not allow unrest in our streets. We will back ICE in their operations. They are a federal agency performing their duty.
That's
The
exactly what it is and what and how it should be and respected for that. But um, with that opposition that's out there, it's really difficult for the agents to do their job.
well, it is, and it's ridiculous. I can't imagine going to work every day to perform a duty that I'm sworn to do and proud to perform. I'm doing what the country wants. I'm cleaning up the streets. I'm getting rid of violent criminals, illegal immigrant, violent criminals, and instead I have citizens of the United States jumping on my car, throwing stuff at me, trying to ram me with their vehicles. This is ridiculous. And then you
Yeah.
got Tim Walz threatening to mobilize the Illinois National Guard to fight against ICE and federal officers and keep them out of his state.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to Tampon Tim here.
Well, first of all, the governor, his authority over his National Guard only extends to bringing them in to assist his police departments in local law enforcement. He doesn't have the authority to declare war on the federal government. Ultimately, the president is the commander in chief of all military, and only the president of the United States can mobilize them for acts of war. I think him throwing this gauntlet down is treasonous. I think it's dangerous. I think it's putting all of his citizens at risk. I think he's trying to bring war to his streets. And man, if that just isn't something else in today's day and age, you want to put your citizens in that kind of danger. Um, I'm blown away by how
Yeah,
ignorant these douchebags are.
yeah, and the fight. uh, goes on, it's the fraud that they have been digging up, and I'm trying to recall who was in charge of the Minnesota who in digging up what's in Minnesota fraudulently. There's a person that has been appointed. I forget what her name is, but I was trying to find a name. But regardless of that, so that she was interviewed, I watched an interview, and they were going over some of the things and the money that has been discovered in Minnesota, and then they brought up California and Gavin Newsom,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Well, we're on our way to California. Prepare yourself."
Yeah, and
You know,
rightfully so. Uh, Again, the frustration I think with the American people, and we've talked about this, we're hearing all these things, and we're not seeing the arrests being made. We're not seeing the ultimate action being taken. The evidence is in, folks. Uh, when you declare war on the federal government, what more do you need? You've gone public. What more do you need to understand that this man has violated his oath of office? He's violated the law. He's putting his citizens at risk. I don't know why they didn't just go in and scoop him up immediately. They have stated, the DHS and the Trump administration have stated that they are going to continue doing their job, and anybody that interferes will be arrested. ICE agents have been backed by their command, by DHS, and by the Trump administration, saying if anybody interferes with you performing your duties, you will be arresting them. I don't care if it's a politician or who it is. They get in your way, make the arrest, deal with it. And ICE is starting to not put up with the bullshit. Uh,
yep,
Again, people, you've got to think about it. If you don't agree with what ICE is doing, you don't agree with the deportations, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you what your opinion needs to be. But the way you have to handle it is with peaceful protests or with electing politicians or changing the laws that govern it. Uh,
right.
you don't go out and interfere with lawful operations. Any fool should be able to see that.
I agree.
Well, I'll tell you, Bones, as I watch this thing unfolding, the president has stopped federal funding to Minnesota. Any of these sanctuary cities, they're not going to be gaining. You say you're going to war against the federal government. Don't have your hand out there looking for federal money to come in and help you. Um,
Right. It gets taken away.
yeah, and then they cry about that and his authority to be able to do that. They're trying to now uh, to sue him and make an impeachment case over him bringing ICE in and calling out the National Guard in some of these areas, claiming that he didn't have the authority to institute the War Crimes Act of 1996 in using these people. It's in the Supreme Court right now. These are desperate, desperate measures from people who are going to lose their paychecks. They're going to lose their bell cow, man. It. They're looking out for themselves, folks. They're not looking out for you. Um,
Yeah. Uh, you look at it. It's pretty simple. It's like if my dad being a strict enforcer of rules. You know,
mm-hmm.
so this is what you're gonna do, or these are the consequences. I paid the consequences if I didn't follow what the rules are. And in
Well,
this case, it's law, federal law.
yep.
Uh, so if you don't abide by the laws, I guess you're gonna pay the price.
Well, and that's what it comes down to. These federal laws, and you know what? It wasn't just the Trump administration didn't make these laws.
Nope.
Uh, in fact, a lot of Democrats' signatures are on these. Tim Walz actually put a law out a couple of years ago stating that it wouldn't be tolerated for illegals to be in there. And then they go ahead and import all the Somalians and get this fraud case going. And now he turns around and blasts the very laws, the enforcement of the very laws that they have put into place.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of puppets.
Yeah, we know that all these protests are being funded. We know that they're trained ICE agents. I actually watched a video clip of it was actually taking place. It looked like in a courtroom where citizens were being trained to fight against ICE officers. It's like, are you serious? Law enforcement trains in crowd control, in arrest control, in self-defense for years. They become proficient, and you got a bunch of idiots trying to tell citizens, we're going to teach you in about 3 or 4 sessions how you can go out and fight against an armed law enforcement officer. This is not okay, folks. It's not okay in any book.
Okay.
I'm very disappointed and frustrated. And that's putting it very mildly, with what is being created by these communist, socialist, piece of shit politicians that are trying to tear this country apart from the inside out. And it's sad that there are people actually stupid enough to listen to it and go out and put their lives at risk, thinking that they're going to be backed by these politicians who don't give two shits about them.
That's the key point, that the people, the citizens that back this stuff, are brainwashed, have to be brainwashed. They pay attention to one side and not even take a look at the other side and find out what is real. They just go with the flow. They're puppets of the puppets.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of bullshit.
It is. And a lot of the people that are out there on these protests, riots that we're seeing have been interviewed, and they're admitting, hey, I don't believe in this cause. I don't give a shit about this cause one way or the other. I'm being paid to be here.
Right.
And yet you have these other people that are buying off on it wholeheartedly. Comparing it to the days of Hitler. Folks, you know what? Huge difference. Illegal immigrants are illegal immigrants. They have violated the law. Law enforcement officers are making lawful arrests.
And then they're strategically put in places and fraudulently given money to do something that they just build the front, fuddle the money,
Exactly.
like childcare. You can't find one child in a childcare facility in Minnesota.
Right. They've gone knocking on the doors trying to see, is this a daycare? And what they run into is 3 or 4 Somalians, most of them with criminal backgrounds or criminal arrest warrants, that are here illegally. And yet these agencies are receiving millions in federal funding to run daycares that don't exist. I saw a question posed the other day. It said, if all these illegals are on welfare, why do they need daycare?
Right.
Right. To me, that's a very common sense question. If you're not working, why do you need daycare?
Exactly.
So the fraud runs deep there. I know it's in the millions or billions of dollars they've uncovered already. And when they get to the bottom of that, I'm sure it's going to be fun. And like you said, Gavin, they're on their way, buddy.
Yep.
Well, I could go on this subject. I'm going to leave it with I'm more than frustrated. I'm angry. I, I am I am beside myself angry with the way the politicians are bashing ICE officers and encouraging citizens to go out and physically confront them in the streets. This is appalling. It's not American. It's criminal, and I want to start seeing some heads roll. Uh, from Padre Havoc, man, I can't express enough how against this shit I am. People, wake up. Wake up and look at what's going on around you. Don't listen to these politicians that don't give two shits about you. Don't let them put your life in danger. Wake up. Believe what you want to believe. Have your opinions. Not going to tell you what you should believe. I can tell you what I believe. And I'll stand by it. I back law enforcement. I back all law enforcement. Federal agencies, DHS, ICE, local law enforcement. I back them all. They're out there doing a job every day that is dangerous, and they don't know if they're even going to be able to return home. And these politicians are making it even more dangerous for them to perform their duty, their lawful duty, their honorable duty to the citizens that they're out there protecting. And you're listening to the politician who's sitting back in his office, reaping in millions of dollars that they're pulling in fraudulently and criminally, and they're using you as the front. Sorry, Renee Good lost her life. That sucks. I'm not applauding the loss of life. And I feel for her family, her children. It was senseless, but it was her fault and the fault of the politicians that encouraged her behavior. Law enforcement was performing their duty. It's going to be found that it was a completely legal action taken by the ICE officer, who, by the way, that very same ICE officer within the past year was rammed and run over by another vehicle and wound up in the hospital. Folks, I can't say enough, man. You've got to pull your head out of your ass and start looking at common sense. Laws are what prevent chaos. These politicians are creating chaos and lawlessness. And it's not going to fly.
Yeah, I agree with what Padre's saying there, and I fully support law enforcement. I'm a positive, futuristic looking type person, and I know for a fact that the ICE agents and what they are trying to do will be successful in Minnesota. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. If you continue to resist, then you're going to get what you get. If you decide not to resist and allow the agents to do what they're supposed to do, it will be over with quicker. But they're not going to stop till it's done. And when it's done, I think we'll have a better thing going on in Minnesota. And Gavin Newsom, here they come. Stay positive, everybody.